Alright, so welcome to my Cosplay on a Budget panel. This panel is going to cover the basics of getting started with cosplay, but for those of you who are already experienced in cosplay, it'll give you some more tips and tricks to save money while still looking fantastic. My name is Leo, I am a guy. I will be presenting today. I've been cosplaying since about 2013 with very little funds, so that's fun. College student time is great. So I've learned a lot of cool tips and tricks for cosplay. Cosplay is a form of art and crafting. It's a huge social event for most people. A lot of people take pride in it with modeling, photography. It can be professional very rarely, but mostly it's just through modeling that people do that. Most people treat it very much as a hobby and very much as a social event. It can be very expensive, very time-consuming, and discouraging when you can't get anything to look the way you want it to look. But it doesn't have to be that way necessarily. So the first part is how to cosplay cheaply without sacrificing quality. Here's an example of how much cosplay can cost. BuzzFeed did an article going around New York Comic Con asking people how much their cosplays took and how long it took to make them. So it's basically typical for them to cost $100 to $200 each, but some, such as this one, cost significantly more and take a lot of time. For those of us who are working 9 to 5, making minimum wage, we don't necessarily have a whole lot of time or money to be working on cosplay. So the first step is picking your cosplay. How to pick a cosplay that is good for your ability level and your body type and your goal for cosplay without picking a project that's way over your head and just going to discourage you. These are some examples of cosplays that are very easy to do. Almost all of this stuff you can get at a thrift store. So all of these, wig included, should be under about $30. And a couple of them need things like fabric paint, but it's pretty easy to do. Spend a moment taking a look at these guys. It's almost all anime, so that's the best. Anime is the best. Here are some examples of cosplays that are pretty difficult. These guys would all take a lot more time to do, and money, and experience, and craftsmanship. So probably none of these are good ideas. If you're a beginner cosplayer, you want to stick to something more like this. And not like these guys, with the impossible wigs, and the armor, and the bodysuits, and the zippers. Thanks, Sora. A good place to start is with the wig. A lot of people plan their cosplays based on what wigs they already have, just because to get a good high-quality wig, you could be tossing out $30, $50, sometimes even more than that. Most people just go with cheaper wigs, but if you stick with an expensive, high-quality wig and keep your characters similar to what you already have, then you can really cut down on costs and have really high-quality cosplays. So it's important to think of what wigs you already have, or what wigs you plan on getting. What characters have clothes that you already own? Closet cosplay is very much a real thing, and many times closet cosplays can look just as good as the ones that people spend a lot more time on. Will you use colored contacts? What characters have eye colors that look like yours? For beginner cosplayers, this isn't going to affect you very much, but if you are a more experienced cosplayer or want to go the extra mile in your cosplays, colored contacts are definitely a good thing to consider. Don't forget shoes, because those can often be pretty expensive as well. If you can pick a character that has basic tennis shoes, you're going to be a lot better off than if you have to shell out $50 for black leather boots. Step 2, gathering materials. Take your time to gather materials for an easy and cheap creation process and a nice product. There are few things worse than coming down to Thursday night and not having the materials you need for your cosplays. You're going to be spending a lot more time and a lot more money and a lot more effort on something that's not going to end up being as good. If you take your time making your cosplay, you're going to be able to get everything for the cheapest price, and you'll save a lot of money and a lot of hassle. You can do a surprising number of cosplays with a single wig. You're not going to want to go all out with the Gallico wig, because you're going to use that once. And no, you're not going to be able to use that one again. But something like the shoulder-length black wig can be used again and again and again. Here are some examples of characters you could all theoretically do with the same wig. This is a huge variety. You've got males and females and cartoon characters and some anime in there, and you can do this all with the same wig, very feasibly. Here are some more examples of characters you can do with the same wig. So you can see if you have 3 wigs, probably short white, short black, and long of any color, would be really good to add to your cosplay collection. And then you open up hundreds and hundreds of characters you can do. There's actually a website you can search for anime characters on. And probably there's some exist for cartoon characters as well, where you could search specifically by hair color and hair length, so that way you can reuse your same high quality wig. Clothes. Start at thrift stores. Start on Saturday, it's half off a lot of the time. Finding pre-made clothes for your cosplay is way, way easier than making everything from scratch. It is way easier. T-shirts, flip-flops, headbands, canvas shoes, tote bags, hair accessories, bandanas, etc. can all be found for a few dollars at craft stores. Save your 40% off coupons. It adds up. It adds up quick. Always search your closet and steal from your friends while planning cosplay. Someone might have the perfect red shoes that you need for your cosplay. Fabric. If you do end up having to make or alter clothing, use broadcloth. It's cheap. It's fantastic. It comes in a bunch of different colors. It's easy to wash. It doesn't do weird things like fray all over the place or bleed or anything weird like that. It's about $5 a yard, and if you use your 40% off coupon, it's obviously even cheaper than that. Avoid satin. It's bad. It's horrible. Cosplayers call it Satan because of how terrible it is. Very easy mistake to make if you're a beginner cosplayer. Satin is the worst. Thin cotton is pretty difficult to work with. Elastic fabric is really difficult to work with. You do need some sewing experience to work with that. Felt is another good one that can be used for things like scarves a lot of the time because it doesn't fray at all, so you don't need to sew or anything like that. It just can get really, really hot if you're wearing it as a clothing item, so I would not recommend that. You can use fabric glue and no-sew iron tape for areas not under stress. Same with Velcro, which you can just stick on or glue on. You can also use hooks or lace or weird things like that. Don't do this with areas that are under stress. So you're not going to want to hot glue the leggings in the crotch area because they will split, and that's happened to me before. It was a horrible time. Always use your coupons. 40% off coupons definitely add up. You just have to Google them on your phone while you're in line, and that's it. Then you get 40% off. It's incredible. Borrow a sewing machine if you don't own one. Make some cosplaying friends. They probably have like 6 sewing machines that they have accumulated over the years. Or you can hand sew, which is way more time consuming, but oftentimes cheaper, and doesn't involve socialization, which is nice. Satin versus broadcloth. Broadcloth is easier, cheaper, looks better in photos. This is the best satin has ever looked. It doesn't get better than that, and it usually looks a lot worse than that. This is me a long time ago. Broadcloth works a lot better. So your budget comes down to your reusable wig. If you order ahead of time on Amazon or eBay, you can get it for about $10 or $20, depending on what you want. The fancier wigs will definitely be more expensive, but they routinely have short, black, plain wigs for about $5. Your costume, altered from thrifting and your closet, $0 to $30. Sometimes a little more than that if you have to get some fancy shoes or anything like that. But if you stick to thrifting and cheaper websites, this is oftentimes all you need to do those simple cosplays without props. I will also say, as far as doing the fancier wigs, check out beauty stores. A lot of the time they have nice wefts for about $3, which is way cheaper than Arta wefts for about $20 at the cheapest. So that's definitely a good place to start. You can also get some pretty nice wigs locally if you go to beauty stores. Step 3, assembly and props. Putting it all together and adding props. So for beginner cosplayers, I would definitely recommend not having props to start out with. Just focus on your wig and your clothing and your makeup and stuff like that. It's already a lot to focus on. You don't need to add props into the mix. But if you've already had a little bit of experience and want to upgrade, these 3 things will save your life. Hot glue, fun foam, and theater tape. It's often called goth tape or racer's tape. Hot glue is very, very, very important because it sticks most things together. It's pretty quick. pretty durable, not as finicky as super glue. You can burn your fingers, that's a lot of fun. Fun foam is fantastic because it is a thermoplastic of sorts, and can be easily molded into a lot of different shapes. You can get really good natural looking shapes with the fun foam. You can also seal it and gloss it and makes great armor. It's pretty fantastic. Goth tape, racer's tape, theater tape, it goes by all of those names, is a fabric tape. So it's made out of a fabric material instead of like duct tape, which is made of a plastic material. And it doesn't have the shine that duct tape has, holds things together really well. It's pretty easy to unstick and restick. It's pretty fantastic stuff. So these props, the two masks and the megaphone, were made out of styrofoam, fun foam, goth tape, and plastic scraps. I mean, the mask over here has a little bit of felt on it, but all of these cost under about $15 to make, and most of them, since I already had the supplies, were pretty much free. I mean, you just had to pay for the zipper for that one. So if you have a little bit of patience with this stuff, you can definitely make amazing looking props for barely anything at all. Sometimes dollar stores have everything you need to make the base of your prop. Always focus on what the core shapes of the prop are. So for example, the megaphone here has a core shape of the cylinder, so I used a Sonic cup because that's what I had at the time. And it worked fantastic. You can use fun foam, cardboard, and paper mache to make good bases. To finish, use glossy paint, spray finish, or liquid latex. Ooh, that's a fancy one there. We'll get to that later. So a lot of the time, you can make helmets and hats and other big bulky props like shields out of things you can find at the dollar store. I've made scythes a lot of the time with mops because it screws off. So easy transport, you can even pop apart the handle so everything fits together in a little piece. That's pretty fantastic. It's also really cheap. For big lightweight props, you can use like floral foam. It's also pretty cheap. You'd probably be shelling out about $10, $15 for most props there, but it also works really, really well. All of these are made out of cardboard and cost under $5. And I have one of them here, because it looks a lot better in person. These guys are made out of cardboard and paper mache and tape. Lots of found objects here. The USB cord is pretty big. It's a pretty nice size USB cord. It's made out of a cracker box and paper mache a little bit around the edges here. And the cord is a plastic cord cover from Micro Center, which costs about $4. The gun here is entirely made out of cardboard with paper mache and glossy paint. It's pretty fantastic, pretty easy to make. The guitar here looks pretty bad because I made it at midnight on Thursday before the convention. That was a lot of fun. But it's also made out of cardboard, entirely. Then there's some foam details. Fun foam's really cheap, it's fantastic. Other prop materials that are likely to save your life. Model Magic. It's an air dry clay. Oh, it's for kids. No, it's really, really fantastic for making details. It's pretty easy to sculpt. It dries. It's pretty fantastic. It's also very lightweight, which makes it easy to attach to things. Liquid latex. Liquid latex is fantastic for organic looking or shiny looking details. I've coated fabric with liquid latex. I've done a lot of different like fleshy looking props with liquid latex. It's fantastic if you get it around Halloween. You can get a bottle of it for like $6. Otherwise, on Amazon, it's like $16 for a pretty big bottle, which lasts a long time. You can make a lot of cool looking props out of it. Tea lights or wedding lights or floral lights here are really fantastic for any props that have to light up. They're really cheap, they're entirely self-contained, so you don't have to be going online on some physics website trying to figure out how much power exactly you need and whether or not you need fancy electronics stuff. And it's entirely self-contained, really easy to operate. This down here is foil tape. You can find it at hardware stores. It is fantastic for covering things with, like swords. If you wanted to make a really cheap and shiny looking sword, it is made out of metal, it's just very thin, which makes it fantastic for fake piercings, or small metal details, or anything that has to look metal but is really tiny and needs to kind of be sculpted. Foil tape at hardware stores, about $5. So the staff up here, which you can't entirely see, is a tea light and really light, like tissue-like fabric. It's a wooden dowel, some cardboard, some fun foam, and a lot of duct tape. And it looks fantastic. It changes colors, which you can't see here, but that's okay. So the entire staff here cost about $7, only because I need to buy the lights. Down here, we have airbrushed wings. These guys are coated with fabric stiffener and left on plastic wrap, so they kind of have a weird patchy appearance. They're pretty shiny in real life. This was entirely made out of cardboard and a little bit of wire and a lot of liquid latex and some broadcloth. It's pretty fantastic. It was pretty heavy, but that's okay. For armor, fun foam or EVA foam work fantastic as bases for armor. It's lightweight, it's moldable. You don't have to worry about crushing it if you accidentally sit on it, which is great. Paint, school glue, fabric glue, and water. That's all you need to have fantastic looking armor. Fun foam, you can get a big roll of it at Joann's for $20, 40% off. So it's pretty cheap, pretty nice. You can use it for a bunch of different things. You mold it to your body. You can use a heat gun or a blow dryer or even an oven if you're very careful. Paint, and then a mixture of 1 part school glue, 1 part fabric glue, and 1 part water. About 7 or 8 coats of that makes it look really shiny. Thermoplastics are a bit pricier or a lot pricier, but also work really well. Cardboard and vinyl can look great too. Vinyl's just a little bit harder to find high quality versions of it, and it can be a lot more expensive than the paint and glue route. There's some terrible armor and some worse cosplay photos. This is all made out of foam. Except the sword. That was made out of wood and it weighed about 40 pounds. It's fine. So all of the armor here was somewhat poorly constructed with fun foam. It took me about 6 hours to make all of it, I want to say. The tube here is one of those kid wooden snakes that you get at like a craft store and you shake it around and annoy people with it. It works really fantastic for heavier cords. This piece was actually really fantastic because this whole handle slid out like a lawnmower, and that was done with 2 dollar store tape measures, because they retract. Pretty fantastic. Makeup! Oh gosh, it's for everyone. Makeup can make or break a cosplay. Even if you're male, even if your character is male, you definitely should look into doing makeup as well. It'll make your pictures look a lot better. You need black or brown eyeliner, at least foundation, and a powder to fix or contour with. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of fancy words there. We'll get to that too. Makeup at drugstores or ELF brand is low cost and usually just fine quality. Don't be a tool. Please wear makeup with your cosplay. It's gonna look 700% better, I swear. It's amazing how far we have come. Here's a pretty cool contouring guide, especially if you are cosplaying a character of a different gender than you are. Fancy. Alright, an important note. Cosplay what you want to cosplay. If you really want to go straight right into the fancy, expensive, difficult cosplays, go for it. Pick a popular character so you have some tutorials, or else it's going to be really difficult. Take your time and plan way ahead. Give yourself the time and materials and money for it. You're definitely going to need to budget beforehand. If you set off to make Alphonse's armor from Full Metal Alchemist, it's going to take you a long time. I wouldn't plan on doing that one to DCC. I wouldn't plan on doing it to NDK unless you have nothing to do this summer. Definitely take your time, look up references, ask advice from other people. This is a really important point. Take high quality pictures of your cosplay. These are the best pictures I have of these cosplays. One of them is a Sprite can. This is a beautiful Sprite can. It is in great detail, but it's not of my cosplays. I don't have pictures of years of my cosplays. Please help your friends to take good quality pictures. It's important. A very blurry combined. I know you can't see the one in the corner there, but that's as big as it gets. It's like 44 pixels. Barely. And that's it. That's like one of the only pictures I have of that cosplay. That's incredible. How to get your cosplay noticed. Join a costume contest. Oh my gosh, it's scary. No, it's pretty scary, but it gets a lot easier after your first time. You do it, you feel great about yourself, you lose every time, but that's okay. Your cosplay gets noticed and that's fun. Create a cosplay page and follow all of those other cosplayers. You'll get to see some cool pictures, maybe get some good advice about how to do different props, things like that. Maybe you get some information about meetups through them. You can add all of your pictures and future cosplay plans to your page. Don't worry about if you're not good enough. I promise a lot of other people have cosplay pages, like myself, and are worse than you already. So you don't have to worry about that. Go to or host cosplay meetups or cosplay photo shoots. Make some friends cosplaying the same things that you are. Bug them until they are your friends as well. That is what I do. Talk to the people cosplaying from the same series. Oh my gosh, I love your scythe. Can I take a picture of you murdering me with it? Absolutely. Fantastic. Let me hear how you made it. Oh, there we go. Now you have a friend and some good cosplaying advice. And some cool pictures, hopefully, of you being brutally murdered by a scythe. Which is fantastic. Another thing you can do is host a panel, like I'm doing. Alright, that's just about it. If anybody has any questions, I would be happy to take those now. You can add me on Facebook under Fly Guy Cosplay. Or you could come up and see my cool gun. It's made out of cardboard and paper mache. Any questions? Yes.
Why are you cosplaying a dog?
Pass.
I'm
I don't want to talk about
cosplaying a
it.
dog.
Look at it. It's fine. Any other questions?
Generally, when you're picking up materials and stuff for at Goodwill, what do you look for in the quality or the type of clothing that you'll pick up for that?
So make sure it's a non-stretchy fabric if it has to be altered at all. I definitely look at the base of the clothing, and sometimes with budget cosplays you have to say, this is good enough. It's not exactly perfect, but if you stress over details, you're never going to find the perfect thing. So because cosplay clothing is generally intended to be worn a handful of times, rather than day to day, I don't necessarily spend a lot of time focusing on quality. It doesn't matter so much. I would definitely focus primarily on the base and how alterable the item of clothing is.
How do you determine the base of a cosplay?
Okay, let's go back to some of the other ones here. That's way back here. Just so we have some examples. So, for example, let's say you wanted to do this, but you can't find the perfect short black mid-length sleeve dress. But you're not going to be able to find that one. What I would definitely do is look for a long-sleeved, long black dress that you can cut to make look exactly like this. Or maybe you'll find the perfect dress, but it's light blue and you can dye it. Looking at the base of a cosplay definitely involves more imagination. You can't just look at the item of clothing itself, because it's going to be very difficult to find this exact star shirt, unless you order it online for 20 bucks. But if you find a red shirt on sale at a craft store for $2.50 and paint a star on it yourself, you're down about $4 instead of 20, which is fantastic. So definitely looking at the bases of the clothing and going into a thrift store thinking of what items could be rather than what they are is definitely the way to go there. These are some great pictures though. Let's go back to the big one.
Those is characters of cosplay.
How do you take care of your wig when you're not using it?
That's a very good question. Usually, if you've been cosplaying long enough, you just don't. You get very tired at the end of a con, and you throw your nice, long, beautiful wig on the ground, and you forget about it for the next 3 months until you need it again. It's pretty difficult to brush out at that point. I would recommend keeping them in baggies or on wig heads. Obviously, that adds up if you have about 20 wigs. Keep them in baggies or in a bin, and use a dog brush to brush them out. It's going to be way cheaper and way easier to find than a wig brush. You can get pretty terrible wigs looking fantastic. Is this pretty good? Because you missed. It's great. Any other questions?
What did you make the tail out of that you're wearing?
My tail is made out of brushed yarn. It's beautiful. I can't show you guys right this second because I'm behind. But it is made out of brushed yarn, which is fantastic if you want to create really fluffy looking hair pieces or fur pieces. Should have picked a different cosplay word of this. That's fine. That's fine. Dying.
Do you diagram your cosplay? Like, draw it out before you do it?
It depends on the cosplay. So for something like this, I definitely like to first. Just because you might approach this armor here and you might say, I have no idea where the pieces begin and where they end. So finding a lot of reference pictures is very helpful, so you know what the cosplay looks like, so you don't finish it and you're like, oh my gosh, his shirt was green the whole time, and I have a blue one. Definitely it can help to sketch it out if you have some artistic ability, or even if you just kind of want to get a handle on where the shapes are. It can definitely help, especially at the end when you're trying to pack and you want to make sure you have all 49 pieces of her kimono outfit there. Or else you get to the con and you forgot your hair clips, and then you forgot to make the sash, and where's the wig? We don't know. So having reference images definitely helps with that, and having a diagram and lists definitely help as well. Plus then you can take it to a store with you and you know that you need to get orange fabric and yellow fabric, and perhaps some green ribbon. Instead of having to remember that all off the top of your head. This is especially important if you have like 6 cosplays in a weekend, like I do. It's a lot of fun. Any other questions? Okay, fantastic. Well, that's it. Come up and check out the gun, though. It's pretty fancy.